What are Islamic law and Islamic jurisprudence? In Arabic, we call these two things Shariya, the Islamic law, and Islamic jurisprudence is called al-Fiqh, or Sharia and Fiqh. So we've got two things happening in reality. Like we did in the other section when we looked at the Quran, what I'd like to do is just look at some linguistics. I'm not going to kind of dismantle the words for you like I did before, but just look at some meanings. In reality, Sharia means to follow a straight path. To follow a straight path. And I'm sure many of you have come across already the opening chapter of the Quran, which says, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. It says, guide us to the straight path. So it's a kind of similar kind of notion that we've got going on here, although the two terms are slightly different. Again, it's a verbal noun like the Quran was, a noun derived from the verb, and was consequently used for the path to follow. Because there are many paths in life, but this is the specific one that you should follow if you're a Muslim, is really the kind of idea. And as a consequence to that, of course, who laid down this path? It was, from a Muslim's perspective, it was God. And hence, this straight path that should be followed was also borrowed to mean a divine path. So it's a metaphor, of course. What is the metaphor? That Islamic law was seen to drive a human being to his Lord. In other words, it's a path you take to God. It's really kind of the idea. Clarifying for him the straight path in the worldly life, which will then transport him into the hereafter. Because there's a lot of kind of literature in the Islamic tradition, especially in hadith, that we are only here on a temporary basis. In actual fact, the real abode, the real kind of home of the human being is the hereafter. And that's why it's called, one of the names of paradise and one of the names of the hereafter is al-ma'ad, the return, the abode of return. So actually we're here for a temporary period. Historically, history witnesses that for us. People come, they spend some time here, they do amazing things, hopefully, and then they pass on. So here the idea is that the Sharia transports you or guides you through this life and moves you into the next. Another meaning of the Sharia is, in actual fact, it might seem a little obscure, is a watering hole or a drinking place, much like an oasis. In other words, it was somewhere where you would go and seek refreshment from the water there. Again, another metaphor, of course, being likened to a watering place which quenches the thirst, as it is the Islamic law for the Muslim that quenches hearts hungry for knowledge of their Lord in the way in which to worship Him. One of the main ideas of the Sharia, of course it's a law, it has rules and regulations, but one of the ideas is that not only does a Muslim recognize who God is, but he wants to know what God wants from him. And also, as an ultimate deity, he should be worshipped. So how do you worship God? Is it enough to be just a good person? Or is there some ritual kind of activity involved here? And in fact, of course, that is the case in Islam. Equally, the other side of the metaphor, one of it, of course, is the idea of quenching thirst, but the other idea that water provides us also cleanliness, doesn't it? So the idea here is that it cleanses the human being from the dangers of polytheism and ignorance. Again, we talked a little bit about Jahiliyyah. And all the Islamic law is meant to take you out of that state. And in fact, one of the things that we mentioned is that they were ignorant of law. They didn't have a system that could rule their lives at that point. And then this Sharia came along to kind of fulfill that role. In the same way that water cleanses a person from dirt and filth.